Office romance is completely acceptable and must be in accordance with companies' policies, but now less and less people date their coworkers because they fear a sexual harassment lawsuit. What are the biggest misconceptions about sexual harassment in the office? We turn back to Mr. Jack Tuckner to answer some of the questions for us. So we talked to you earlier off camera about office romance, and you informed me that it can happen, but between two people on the same level. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, it can happen, and it obviously does happen, and it will always happen. It's not so much about romance per se, obviously romance, and it's not really about sexuality, and it's not about sexual activity. It's about power and the abuse of power. So if you're having an office romance, if you will, with an equal colleague who doesn't have anything on you in terms of power or seniority, not your boss, if the relationship sours, it's probably not much of an issue. I mean, you're both just wherever you are in this company's hierarchy, and it can happen. Nobody's going to care, really. It doesn't create a corporate liability, and it's all about the company. It's not about any individuals. It's about what the company does or doesn't do about unwelcome. It's always the unwelcome sex-based advances or unwelcome sex-based energy that you're fending off. So most typically, and it's about a supervisor or manager on a lesser powerful person, and that's almost always, still in our culture, male on female. And so therefore, you're in a quandary. It's an economic bind, because once you're in this relationship, you don't have the option, the freedom of simply saying, you know what, I don't like you anymore, and I'm out of here. Because you could do that, and you will do that, but then there may be retaliation from this person who didn't want to end the relationship.
If there's sexual harassment going on in the office, maybe you could just give us a few examples, because I know a lot of people aren't sure if they're being sexually harassed or they think they may be. Could you give us a few examples of what sexual harassment is or isn't?
I think it's pretty clear. You know you're being sexually harassed if you're being sexually harassed. When you don't know and you say, I'm not sure I'm being sexually harassed, I think that's just fear. It's talking inside of you, should I take some action or not, or what level of action should I take? Right. Because I'm not happy, I'm uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, your discomfort should be a fairly powerful signal.
Should be a red flag.
That's a red flag that this is probably an inappropriate overture that's coming your way that you shouldn't have to deal with in a workplace.
I know you have a story about a young lady that graduated from Catherine Gibbs School.
Right. I have a lot of stories. This one, which is fairly, I think, crystallizes it most clearly. A woman, 20 years old, graduates from secretarial school, gets a job in Wall Street, very entry-level salary, is assigned immediately to a powerful rainmaker male who is making many, many times what she earns. He decided that he was in love with her, and he was molesting her, he was sexually abusing her at work. But, you know, I think, and we've had many cases in the past, that fall into this area. He was physical with her. He pulled her onto his lap in the office, and she said that he, you know, had an erection. He would kiss her, and, you know, in the elevator, and she, you know, and stick his tongue in her mouth. He called her at home drunk and said, I'm leaving my wife, I want to be with you only. He was 28 years older than her, and she clearly was going out of her mind. She complained to Human Resources, which was the right thing to do. In her case, when she complained, she tape recorded it secretly. We should all know here it's legal in New York and in other one-party consent jurisdictions, so-called, to tape record your conversation with 1, 2, 3, 100 people without notifying them that you're taping them, as long as one person in the room is consenting. The one person who's consenting is you. Mm-hmm. So she could have sent that letter that I talked to you about off camera. But instead she taped it. So the HR woman said, we're shocked, we can't believe it, not Joe, we have to look into it. Listen, go home, it's Friday afternoon, take the rest of the day off, Monday, don't come in, call us, and we'll tell you what we are going to do, because we've never had to deal with this before, we're in shock. Monday she called, 9 o'clock, tape recording that as well, and said, okay, what's going on? I haven't slept all weekend, what are you going to do? She said, look, Joe denies it. It's a he said, she said. He's been here 16 years. You've been here 4 months. There's no proof. There's no corroboration. There's no email. What do you want us to do? We can't.
What do you mean
do anything.
proof? Wasn't it taped?
It was tape recorded.
You said
No,
it
no,
was-
the tape recording was the
Conversation.
complaint
Oh,
Oh,
to
the
Human
complaint,
Resources.
okay.
It would have been different if she had able to tape record or knew to do that.
right. Okay.
So they let her go. The upshot was they said, here's your 2 weeks' pay. We're sending you your sneakers that are under your desk, and goodbye. And we'll give
Does
you a
that
reference
happen
letter.
often?
Yes.
More often than
Wow.
not. it seems.
Well, less so these days because companies are becoming much more aware of the exposure and liabilities they face for doing that. But that was a fairly classic example of unwanted quid pro quo sexual harassment. You want to work here, you're going to do what I want you to do. And then when she complained, she was fired.
So she did the necessary steps, complained to HR,
Right.
and then she came to you. Is that the time where you should, if there's no response from HR, is that when you seek an attorney?
Well, she, I believe, came to me before she went to HR, which is why
Okay.
she knew to go to HR.
Oh, okay.
Because when people come to me in the state where I'm still working, or she wasn't, what do I do with him? You know what I tell them? What I told her. Complain. You have to. So whether you do it the way she did it, if you're in a place where you're allowed to tape record, that's quite powerful. She was weeping inconsolably to this HR woman. It's powerful. I mean, that's all admissible in a courtroom. Had she just sent a letter, it would have had the same effect. They have to investigate it, and they can't treat her worse as a result of the complaint. That gives you a lot of leverage. They may fix it, they may not.
As in the case of this young lady who was she was working for a very powerful man. Let's say that's her life's goal. She wants to become an executive assistant. And he's a very powerful man. Who's to say that who's to say, okay, this guy Joe is not going to pick up the phone and call one of his friends at another, firm and, say, look, don't hire this woman.
Nothing. That I'm sure that does happen. In big cities, though, where Joe doesn't know where she's gone, and the company has to give her and will give her a reference that won't hurt her generally at the end of any, even without legal action. Most companies provide these days verifications of employment only. They don't bother going out of their way to hurt you because they're saying to themselves, take her, better you than us. We don't want her. Because also, if you prevent this employee who has left from getting another job, from being gainfully employed, number one, that's retaliation and is a cause of action. And number two, her damages increase. If she gets her damages meaning what she's lost, her harms that the company may have to pay for. If she gets another job right away making similar money, it could be a principal issue, a so-called Pyrrhic victory. What money do you get from a jury if you win when you've lost, let's say, 2 months' pay before you got another job?
Chuck, we have to wrap up, but before we go, thank you for being
You're
with us.
welcome.
And just out of curiosity, I would think at least that there would be a woman sitting here. Why do you think that there are so many men fighting for women's rights in the workplace?
Well, there aren't so many men fighting for women's rights in the workplace.
Why
But
are
you're
you
here.
fighting? Yeah, why are you
here?
fighting?
Well, I think that's probably, I don't know that I have a soundbite answer for that. For me, I've always been a radically liberal left-wing person who wants to add some value to this planet, and it seems to me that women deserve to have their cause championed. I think the question is, why is it that a middle-aged white male is the only person doing this? That's really one of the bigger issues. Where are the droves of women who should be stepping up and doing this as well? So I think it's a complicated answer.
We're glad you're doing it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.